Hi, my name is Kimmy Rudder, and this is my Ignite project for ASL Professional Ethics and Issues. This course was a lot different than I was expecting, but it was much more. I thought this was going to be about interpreting, and that was it. But it dealt a lot more with my day-to-day life than I was expecting, and I took home several valuable lessons. Kirko Hansen states ethics is a study of standards of behavior which promote human welfare and the good. This is much different than the definition I was always told, which was making the right decision. There are several things that I have learned in this class, but the one thing that I learned is ethics is not simply following rules. Everyone has to interact with people, and ethics is involved any time we deal with another person to maintain a proper relationship with one another. Weston explains, ethics asks us to live mindfully, to take some care about how we act and even about how we feel. No matter what we think, our actions will affect someone else. There are several different results that come from our decisions. Ethics helps us to make the proper decision even in a tough situation and maybe some circumstances that we haven't had to deal with before. One of the toughest situations, in my opinion, is right versus right. Not everything is clear cut. Many times there is good on one side and then bad on the other. Or many times there is good on both sides rather than the scale that is shown in the picture. I have grown exponentially. I have a better understanding of why I do the things I do. I know my own morals and my ethics, and I understand how to make a better decision. As far as my personal development, I realized that I needed to look at all outcomes. It is human nature to think about self first. However, we must try to think of the greater good. There's also no shame in being wrong. Sometimes we may get things wrong, but that's okay. We will always think that we were right until someone proves us wrong. The best thing to do is learn from that experience. I think the most important thing that I have learned is time management. I personally, and I think many can relate to this, need a good amount of sleep. If I don't get it, I'm cranky and don't make good decisions. So I've learned to manage my time better so that I get that sleep. Like I explained earlier, most people want a clear-cut answer. Weston elaborates, we want things to feel clear-cut, even when they are not, so many may persuade others that they are. I want to change my mindset to realize that it isn't always the correct solution. Something that I struggle with is stereotypes. However, I didn't know this because I always thought stereotypes was having a negative effect. Now that I'm aware, I'm more thoughtful in my decisions and I'm always looking for all possible outcomes. Professor Steele states, well, I think stereotypes are habits of mind and we use them to interpret our experiences without much thought. I did this a lot in my past, but I tend to think of stereotypes in the negative instead of the positive. So, for my personal change, far too often people only think about themselves. From this course and my upbringing, I am always thought to think of others and how I affect others. And here are a few things that I'd like to say to sum up my project. First of all, what would I do differently if I have the chance to do it again? There's always a few things that people would like to change if they were allowed to, but sadly, we don't always get this choice. But from 2020 sight, I have learned that I would take more notes as I was reading. In the beginning of the course, I didn't do this, and I learned fairly quickly that I needed to. Another thing is that I would change my communication skills. If I didn't understand something, I would try to fix it myself. I wish that I would have asked the professor more. This course has taught me a lot about who I am and who I need to be. I am a better decision maker, and I also am more aware that there isn't always the perfect solution that most people like to think there is and that most people look for. And here are the sources that I used for my project. All of them were in the materials that were used throughout the semester. Obviously, a lot more of the other sources go into it, but these are the ones that I specifically focused on.